Alright guys, this is a big one. The CSGO scene just got rocked by a gigantic cheating scandal. And no, I'm not talking about a bunch of nobodies getting caught hacking in the FPL. This happened at the highest level of competitive Counter-Strike, and 3 coaches were banned. And on top of that, there's been a second investigation with up to potentially 15 different cases of match fixing happening at the semi-pro level. Yeah, it's been a rough month for Counter-Strike. Alright, so for a while now, we've been streaming over at twitch.tv/theScore esports with our talk show Clouted. And if you love the stories that we cover here on Don't At Me, well, you're gonna love some of the conversations that we have over on Twitch. We break down some of the biggest stories from esports and streaming, and we talk a little shit while we're at it. So make sure you follow the channel and hit that notification button so you know exactly when we go live, and hey, you can watch me get roasted for 2 hours straight. The news of this cheating scandal broke a day after ESL 1 Cologne finished. ESL published an investigation and they say, quote, "We were made aware that by taking a combination of different steps, a bug in CSGO allows the coach of a team to become a spectator anywhere on the map, unbeknownst to anyone else." End quote. So yeah, this coaching exploit, as it's being called, basically allows a coach to place themselves anywhere on the map and then swivel their camera from side to side and theoretically take any info that they gather from that and give it to their players. It's basically one giant broken cipher cam like in Valorant. I mean, check this shit out. Now, the bombshell at the heart of ESL's investigation is the fact that they've proved coaches from Heroic, MIBR, and Hard Legion all used this exploit at multiple different ESL events leading up to ESL 1 Cologne. Yeah, 3 teams competing at the highest level of Counter-Strike cheated. In the investigation, ESL said that the exploit violated, quote, section 6.10.5 use of bugs and glitches, end quote, of ESL's rulebook. To be very clear, ESL says that all of this happened prior to the start of ESL 1 Cologne, and that in fact, the exploit was actually patched out prior to the tournament starting. And so these rulings are the result of a long investigation that just happened to be published at the same time that ESL 1 Cologne was finishing. The investigation also says when and at what tournament the coaches abused the exploit. Hard Legion's coach Mechanogun used the exploit at ESL 1 Road to Rio on 6 maps in 3 matches. Heroic's coach Hundin used the exploit at DreamHack Masters Spring in 10 rounds on 1 map, and MIBR's coach Dead used the exploit at ESL 1 Road to Rio in 1 round on 1 map. And on Thursday, September 4th, former NIP coach PETA admitted to abusing the coaching exploit during an EPL match against Mouse Sports back in 2018. And like I mentioned off the top, these aren't just some punk teams cheating their way through FPL or some shit. This is the highest level of competitive Counter-Strike. It's coaches and players competing amongst the best of the best and being found guilty of cheating in an online tournament with a prize pool of $350,000. On top of that, Heroic managed to win the European portion of ESL 1 Cologne, and they looked fucking great doing it, dominating some of the best teams in the world. Imagine going from heroes to cheaters in the span of 24 hours. And the way we know about this exploit and the fact that coaches have been abusing it over the last few months is thanks to freelance esports referees Mikhail Slowinski and Steve Dudenhofer. They spent dozens of hours poring over thousands of different demos and meticulously documenting any time that they thought the exploit was being used. A big props goes out to those guys. Now, unfortunately, coaches abusing this exploit is not limited to ESL events. Beyond the Summit recently put out a statement that says basically that Dead, the coach for MIBR, was found guilty of using this exploit in Beyond the Summit 6. And the most damaging part of the BTS statement is where they said that Dead explicitly knew how to fix the exploit and continued to abuse it anyway. Quote, Dead demonstrated he knew how to fix the glitch while maintaining competitive integrity prior to CS Summit 6 online by requesting a technical timeout, disconnecting, and reconnecting, which happened in the May 1st match versus MV at ESL 1 Road to Rio, end quote. And then from there, they go on to say that, quote, Dead knowingly abused the coach spectator glitch to obtain an unfair competitive advantage in MIBR's lower bracket round 3 match versus Triumph at CS Summit 6 online on June 23rd, end quote. Yeah, that whole give him the benefit of the doubt type thing goes out the window on this one. Now, as you can imagine, the punishments handed down and the response online was both fast and fierce. Here's ESL's punishments for all 3 coaches. Heroics Hunden is banned from competing and coaching in ESL events for a year, MIBR's Dead is banned for 6 months, and Hard Legion's Mechanogun is banned for a whopping 24 months or a full 2 years. On top of that, all 3 teams will retroactively be disqualified from the tournaments in question, while also forfeiting both their ESL Pro Tour points and the prize money earned from those tournaments. Man, ESL is not fucking around. And Beyond the Summit banned Dead from the next 2 BTS events, while also retroactively disqualifying MIBR from Beyond the Summit 6, and they basically have to forfeit their prize money as well. Now, at the time of recording this, Hard Legion is the only team that's released a public statement on the matter, and they basically said that they've dropped Mechanogun. Quote, yesterday we received a letter from ESL announcing the decision to ban our coach for 2 years. It was difficult for us to believe in Alexander's guilt, but we had to conduct a personal investigation of this situation. Based on the results of internal discussions, we decided that the punishment from ESL was fair. We refuse to make any appeal and we are staying on the side of the tournament organizer. End quote. And predictably, a lot of the responses from the CSGO scene online are a whole bunch of, you gotta be fucking kidding me. From pros to analysts to popular content creators and of course Brazilian fans, everybody is thoroughly pissed off. And honestly, people should be pissed off. Because while this exploit doesn't involve wall hacks or aim locks or some other stereotypical idea of cheating, it still seriously undermines the competitive integrity of CSGO. The exploit gave certain coaches and teams an unfair advantage, access to information their opponents didn't have, and they broke a rule in ESL's rulebook. That's cheating. Now, there's a ton of speculation online right now, and it's got a lot of people asking the big question. Did the players know about it? And while we don't have a definitive answer as to whether or not the players on the teams that were caught cheating knew about the exploit, we do have a partial answer from the Esports Integrity Commission. And the ESIC is basically an esports watchdog. They do their own third-party investigations and then hand down their recommendations to tournament organizers. And in a statement published on September 3rd, they revealed that, quote, there is insufficient evidence available to determine with any certainty that players were aware of any wrongdoing or complicit in their coach's behavior. End quote. Now, to be clear, that statement doesn't necessarily mean that the players knew. And what it does mean is that at this point in time, there's not enough evidence to determine either way. Now, not long after the news of ESL's investigation and punishments was announced, another scandal was breaking, this time regarding the MDL, which is CSGO's semi-pro league. And I first heard about this from Zelsis, a pro player who took to stream and had this to say about potential match-fixing allegations.
Jordan, do you wanna say it? Who did it?
Do I want to say what, like Nerfed and Calypso and Rebirth Esports and...
Oh my god.
What do you mean?
Wait, Nerfed?
Yeah. He was
No.
part of that group.
Not my boy Jimmy, dude.
Yeah, he was part of that group.
I'll kill him, but don't do anything.
They had a Snapchat group and everything.
They had a Snapchat group of people throwing matches?
Yes.
Did everyone knew?
Everyone knows this. Like,
After that clip blew up, a ton of notable names in the CSGO scene, including Flom, asked Zelsis to explain himself further and to provide any proof that he had of these MDL match-fixing accusations. And it gets even worse because on top of that, the ESIC recently announced that they've been conducting an 18-month-long investigation and they've found possibly 15 different instances of serious match-fixing in the MDL. Quote, approximately 18 months ago, and on several occasions since, ESIC has received suspicious bet alerts through our Global Integrity Monitoring Framework, which has led us to establish an investigation into potential match-fixing activity in the MDL tournament series administered by one of our members, ESEA. As we consider this matter to be of industry concern due to social media speculation, we have chosen to provide an update as we begin to finalize our investigation. End quote. In a tweet announcing the news, they said that the investigation should be wrapping up sometime in the next 4 weeks, and at which point they'll give us a final report. And of course, this set off a fresh round of what the fuck is happening in the CSGO scene online. One of the things to take into consideration with this MDL match fixing controversy is the influx of MDL semi-pro CSGO players who've actually switched over to Valorant over the last few months. If it turns out that any of those players are found guilty of match fixing according to the ESIC, you have to wonder how punishments are going to be handled, understanding that these players are now competing in an entirely new esport. And like, if a player is found guilty by the ESIC of cheating or match fixing in CSGO, and then they move over to Valorant, is it up to the org that they sign with to punish them? Is Riot gonna step in with some sort of ban? Or does nobody care and we just pretend like this never happened? This is something that Flom recently talked about on his stream.
I think nobody wants to build an esports scene on players that have done stuff like that so recently and quite literally in preparation for your game. I think the iBuyPower stuff was a very long time ago, but also, you know, and I think most people, I'm not saying all of you, but I think there's, you know, people grow, there's time, people make mistakes, that kind of stuff. If there's literally no punishment, like those guys literally served out a punishment, you know what I'm saying, chat? Like there might not be any for these guys. Like what, I don't know what the proper punishment is.
At this point, it would be a giant understatement to call this entire situation bad for the health of competitive CSGO. And it might be easy to say that with both the coaching exploit and the MDL accusations, that who gives a shit? It's not like Na'Vi or Astralis were the ones caught doing this. But I think that as soon as you start deciding what cheating cases are important by who's involved, you're lessening the severity of what this is. And again, to be very clear, this coaching exploit is cheating. And match fixing, well, it's fucking match fixing. If we start believing that cheating and match fixing isn't a big deal unless there's huge names involved, CSGO is very quickly going to find itself in a hole it can't dig itself out of. Of course, there's always going to be people who cheat and abuse every competitive advantage that comes their way. But if it's happening at the highest level of competition in one of the world's biggest esports, we've got a serious problem.
Why did you buy this like weird like round, like thick water bottle? Like, that's so impractical to hold.
I know, it's very impractical, but I fucking love it. I don't know why, but like,
this is, I'll never understand why, like you know all these people that could give you all this information about things, and you just go out and buy awful products.
I was walking through Canadian Tire and I saw this thing. It was a fucking impulse buy, so I bought it. You know, I don't even know why the fuck I was at Canadian Tire to begin with.
You're such a bad consumer. It's like incredible how poorly you spend money.
Yeah, it's got a handle that I can like fucking use as a handle, you know.